guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another live stream. Back to another live stream. Back
100 times?
to another live stream.
200 times?
Back
500 times?
Who is Jose Arteaga?
Jose Arteaga is a YouTube content creator with several channels focusing on different themes.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Thing sucks.
His main channels include travel vlogs and lifestyle content. On his travel channel, Jose Arteaga Travels.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Additionally, he runs a cooking channel and engages in other personal projects that highlight his diverse interests and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects, project, 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 project,
It's not your fault that you're always wrong. The weak ones are there to justify the strong. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. It's all relative to the size of your steeple. You can't see the forest for the trees, and you can't smell your own crap on your knees. There's no time to discriminate. Love every single person that's in your way. What do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you! Are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. The worms will live in every host. It's hard to pick which one they hate the most. The horrible people, the horrible people. It's all anatomic as the size of your steeple. Capitalism has made it this way. Old-fashioned fascism will take it away. Hey, you, what do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you, are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. The beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people. Hey, you, what do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you, are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. Hey, you, what do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you, are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. The beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people.
Another hand slowly, child is slowly taken, and the violence caused such silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, is it not me? Is it not family? In your head, they are fighting.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another show, to another live stream. My apologies. I don't know if we had a few hiccups there with the intro. Hopefully, everything came out okay. I was trying something a little new today. I found some AI music covers of some songs that I think a lot of us don't remember, just in case, something you guys were listening to sounded a little familiar. And, I just decided to add that instead, today, because of the conversation we're about to have today. So, shout out to everyone out there. Welcome to the show. Shout out to Jesse, Isai, Peter, David. Shout out to everyone out there, and welcome to the show. So, again, hopefully everything's coming in smoothly. I don't know why. It seems like it's jittery a little bit on my end, but I think everything's coming out okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me at the very least. Let's get the show started. So, man, sorry. I guess I'm coming getting a little sick, getting a little under the weather there. Got to be careful, and I got to watch my health. Anyways, welcome back, guys, to another show. So today's show is talking about the system. Yeah, that's right. That system that we all live under. That system that many of us think is broken. And, I'm here to inform you guys that it's not broken at all. In fact, the system is working perfectly. It's working exactly as intended. We are literally, going down the path that, they've envisioned a long time ago. Who is they? I don't know. I don't know who's in power. Everyone always says, it's a lizard people, the Jews, or, any other group, insert group here, insert person here, the oligarchs, the bankers, the whatever it is, right? But the reality is that, there are, people, there are groups, there are entities out there that do have control over our lives, whether we like to admit it or not. I think at this point, most people are fully aware of the situation that we're living under. But I guess it really depends on how long, you've known about a lot of this stuff. The longer you've known about how the world actually works and how actually everything ticks and how everything moves, the longer you've known that, the more you've realized that the system is not broken. The system has never been broken. The system is working perfectly. The system has been put into place a long time ago. In fact, not years ago, not decades ago, but again, centuries ago. A century is 100 years, for anyone out there. So, this is nothing new. For example, right now with the currency situation that we're dealing with, everyone's like, oh, the dollar is losing value. The dollar is, gonna get replaced. Oh, the dollar, whatever, all that conversation on that, we've had it on this channel as well. Again, all this, from the day that they instilled the system that we're under right now, they knew that at one point we would get to where we are right now, and they had a plan for that. Okay, not only did they had a plan, for how it was all going to transpire, but they also have plans going forward. Even though most of us out here have no idea, what those plans are. We can just sit here and guess. We can try to, figure it out. Again, whether it's on a show like this or other shows, or, you talking amongst your friends and other people out there, just trying to figure it out. You guys are trying to conspire, all right, with all these theories as to what could be possibly going on. Again, we're just trying to guesstimate as to how it's all going to turn out. And we can do this, again, if you love history, if you are a history buff and you actually, not just read a history book, but even read the books, or, educate yourself with a lot of information that has been taken away from us, or deemed as undesirable, or deemed as naughty. You can't read that book, you can't read this book, you can't watch this channel, you can't listen to this, even though we have been overly censored not just recently, but forever, for the longest time, um, that has not allowed us to really know the real truth. Because again, the real truth is always hidden since forever. This is nothing new. This has been going on for a very long time. And throughout the years, throughout the centuries, throughout time, people have discovered the truth or known about the truth and tried to let the people know the truth. And it usually doesn't end well, whether it's for the people, that are trying to say the truth, because the people, again, someone out there finds out the truth. They're trying to tell the people, the humanity, and humanity doesn't want to listen. All right. Because they don't want their bubble to burst. They don't want to, they don't want the idea of the life that they've been living has been a lie this whole time. And so you're going to get a lot of pushback from that. And if you don't get pushback from that, or if you get embraced, by the people, whether or not you do, the people in power are going to find out, and they're going to put a silence to that. And that's how it's always been. They've always silenced the truth. They've always silenced, anything getting out that is not their official narrative. And, now in the world that we're living in this technologically, advanced world that we're living in, that we have the YouTubes and the internet, you got Instagram and Twitter, and you got so many outlets out there to tell the truth and to keep the truth out there and to keep the conversation going. Well, we're actually seeing a lot less censorship these days than you've ever seen throughout history. Because throughout history, again, it was only one or two guys, that maybe knew the truth and maybe had the balls, to go out ahead and let the populace know as to what's really going on. And obviously, with how they've been dealt with throughout history, well, most people, they just shut up, or they just, again, go with the status quo, or shut up, or pay the price. But again, in today's world, it is so much more harder, to cover up the truth, whatever that truth is. There's so many truths out there that we are constantly uncovering, discovering, and now you can't hide it. Now it's like playing whack-a-mole. You might have, one or two individuals pop up, with information on how to get free energy. Well, now you can't eliminate that person because that information is already out there. And even though you eliminate that person, well, that information is out there and people are going to reproduce that free energy. Or, the information that is out there, whether it's the Epstein list, or whether it's, knowing exactly, who rules over everybody. Right now, in this past year, I think most people already kind of knew in the back of their mind, but they never really wanted to admit it. The whole idea with, Israel and, what's going on with all that. But after, Trump became president and basically bowing down his allegiance to Israel and all that stuff, well, we've already seen what that has cost, meaning that most people already know exactly what's going on. Kanye was right, as they like to say, and it is kind of crazy, to see it all play out, because we're at the point right now in history. Again, this is a cycle. It's always the same kind of cycle. It always plays out a little different, but we're at the end of that cycle where the people in power are not hiding it anymore. The reason they don't hide it anymore, the reason they don't hide anything, whether it's the corruption that's going on in government, whether it's, the human trafficking, whatever, whether it's the endless wars, whatever it is, before they used to hide it, before they used to, lie about it and all this stuff. But nowadays, they don't hide it. They don't lie about it. They're just flat out in your face with all of it. And the reason for that is because they know that right now, the majority of the population is, basically, they're done for, meaning that they have, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there. The most of the population right now, they're disheartened. Okay. They know that they can't fight back, even if they wanted to fight back. And so this is why right now they're being so brazen with basically everything that's happening, and they're not even hiding it anymore. They're in your face with it because they know that most of you guys are defeated internally, that most people are, would rather stay comfortable okay, than, actually fight for freedom or whatever it is. And so they continue doing whatever they want, and it's just going to continue getting worse because we're already at the end of the cycle. All right. And the point is that, a lot of people, we can sit here and theorize as to what could happen or what's going to happen, but you don't really have to theorize too much. The reality is that most likely what's going to happen is that things are going to continue to get worse. They're going to continue to deteriorate. You are, for example, if you are in the USA trying to get out of the USA, there's going to come a point in time where you're not going to be able to leave the USA, whether they keep you in the country because they don't want you to leave, or you're just not going to be able to leave because you're not going to have the resources to leave. All right. You're not going to have enough money. You're not going to be able to buy your way out. You're not going to be able to do anything about it. And that goes along, that goes with everything else as well. They know for a fact already that for many people out there, they don't have a choice. They just got to continue dealing with the situation getting worse and worse for them. And so part of the plan, okay, again, part of the plan is for the whole thing, the whole system to crumble, to get destroyed, to fall down, to get you on your knees. That's all part of the plan. That's how they continue staying in power. Because once everything gets, destroyed, taken down and all that stuff, well, then guess what? They're going to be right there to rebuild it. That's all part of the plan. Now, obviously, what they're trying to do, is that they want everyone in this new technological world or what have you, they want everyone to be in their digital prison. Okay. They want you, to be, again, encapsulated within, the digital grid. All right. That's what they're trying to do. But will they be successful? We don't know, but they're trying to keep it all together. In fact, it's kind of crazy because the part of the cycle, okay, part of what they're trying to do going forward is that they're not trying to, usually when these cycles break, when the cycle ends, cycle 1, cycle 2. Okay. So once this cycle ends, there's like a period of unstable instability, and then they move on to the next system. Okay. And so this is no different. We're not there yet. We're still ending cycle number 1. We're still ending this cycle that we're in right now. And once that cycle completely comes to an end, you're going to know immediately, because we're going to be at World War III, or we're going to be in some massive, insane thing, Project Bluebeam, the aliens are coming, whatever. All right. And then once we're in that period of instability, all right, and everyone is, again, going crazy because of the world events that are happening, then they're going to bring in the news system, as they always do. All right. Now, again, the one difference that we have right now that we know of, all right, is that we have computers, technology, and all that stuff. And that, in a way, is helping them, okay, the ones in control, be in even more control. But as we've discussed and talked about, not just on this channel, but even on my other channel, again, I live in Mexico and I talk about these things as well out here. The reality is that, sure, they might envision this utopia that they might want for all of us to live under, but whether or not they're going to be successful, that's another story. All right. They got to get everybody on board. And will they get everybody on board? Probably not. They usually never do. But one of the ways they get many people on board, or the good majority of the planet on board, is through these world wars. Okay. Or through these, mega, red flag events, or whatever it is, right? And the reality is that, a lot of people just think that, anytime that we've had any kind of world war has only been World War I, World War II, and that's it. And now we're going to have World War III. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, they just don't look past that. They don't go past in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, 1500s. And that's why I say right now that, as far as we know, we are the most technologically advanced civilization out there. We're the most advanced humans have been, again, that we know of in our lifetime. But we've actually been uncovering, okay, more and more each and every day. if you follow things, like archaeologists and you follow the people that are uncovering our past and our histories out there, we're starting to figure out, we're starting to find out that, hey, wait a minute, maybe humans not that long ago were actually even more technologically advanced than we are today, and something happened, some cataclysmic something happened, okay, and basically the world got rid of all that technology. Again, it could have been anything. It could have been a meteor, it could have been one of those sunburst or whatever, what do they call those things, the things that destroys all the technology. I mean, there's many things, okay, that could have happened. It could have been a world war. Who knows? Nobody knows. But there are empires out there, okay, that many people don't even know existed. Okay, there are humongous empires out there, like the Tartarians, Tartarians, whatever. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Maybe someone in the chat can help me out. And others. Okay, there's so throughout history. I mean, look, let me just put it to you guys in perspective. Okay, the English landed in the USA in the 1600s. The Pilgrims, Plymouth Rock. All that stuff was happening in the early 1600s. In the early 1500s, so 100 years prior to that, Spain was already conquering Mexico and conquering the Americas. Okay, Spain was the empire. Spain had taken over much of the Americas. Okay, they were very technologically advanced when we got here. All right. By the time that, like I said, the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock, the Spanish have already been out here for over 100 years doing all kinds of things. In fact, the oldest Chinatown in the Americas, okay, the American continents, is in Mexico City. Yeah, that's right. Basically, as soon as the Spanish took over Mexico City, that area there that is Mexico City right now, they started bringing in all kinds of people from all over the world, whether they were slaves or, workers or professionals or whatever. And obviously the Chinese, they're always, making those journeys. So yeah, the Chinese were some of the first people, to live out here. And like I said, the oldest Chinatown in all of the Americas is in Mexico City, just to give you perspective. Okay. I mean, for crying out loud, when the Spanish were fighting the Aztecs and stuff like that, they even had samurais coming from Japan coming out here. Okay, and this is way before America even had 13 colonies, let alone become a country. Okay, so just to give you guys perspective, okay, this is the 1500s, for crying out loud. Okay, so, and what happened before that? What happened throughout the years, before America became America? You got to remember, the United States of America, right, was founded, right, was funded, funded. Anyways, another story for another day. But anyways, they were, we can leave it, we can do it today too. But anyways, but they were funded, founded, 1776. 1776. That's like a good 150 years after the Spanish, I've already been conquered, much of the Americas, for crying out loud. All right. And, 1776. Think about it. When was the Civil War? What, 1840s, 1850s? That was like, what, less than 75 years after we became a country? Again, look at history right now. We are in 2025. 100 years ago was 1925. We already went through World War I, and we were, again, if this was 1925, you're probably watching on TV, Hitler doing his thing, getting ready for World War II. All right. But just to give you guys, more perspective on world events, because for a lot of us, we just went to school in our home countries, USA, Canada, whatever. And then we got taught in our schools what they wanted us to learn. Okay, their history, okay, their narrative, and since we studied and learned that in school, when again, we never really found out the truth, the real history, or the real truth, or just the real history as to a lot of what happened in the last several hundred years, and for a lot of people, they live in that bubble thinking that everybody was living in the Stone Age up until the United States of America became a country. And that's not like that at all. So all I'm saying is that, the further back you go into history, the more you realize that the cycle that we're in right now, the situation that we're in right now, has been repeated countless times, over and over and over and over again. And it will continue to repeat. Now, again, I don't know if you know the old saying that, that history repeats. Now, I don't necessarily like to say it that way, because history doesn't repeat per se, but it rhymes. It definitely rhymes. And so every time that the cycle, continues, every time that we have a new cycle, every time that this thing gets renewed, reinvented, or whatever, there's always something different about it. There's always new and different things. Like in this case, we got computers. We got the digital prison that most of us, voluntarily put ourselves in. Okay. And some of these tools, some of these things did not exist back in the day. All right. But other things existed, for propaganda, such as newspapers, such as books. All right. And so on and so forth. All right. And the narrative and the history has always been watered down, or again, tailored to fit the narrative, tailored to fit the people that are consuming that information. Because one thing that I realized, when I moved to Mexico, for example, and I was living out here in Mexico, and I was talking to just regular people, whether it was a taxi driver, or whether it was somebody that was a professor at a university, a doctor, the guy shining shoes, is that the majority of Mexicans had much better understanding of history and much better education than even the smartest individual back in the USA. So, out here, they have a lot more knowledge of their history, of their past. Because again, you got to remember, Mexico, for example, just to give you an example, Mexico, okay, that's not like a new country. Back when the Aztecs were here, before the Spanish even landed, this was called Mexica, or something like that. And basically, once Mexico became a country, they named it Mexico, because this was the land of the Mexica, or something like that. Again, please, correct me if I'm wrong down below. But at the end of the day, they have a lot more knowledge and a lot closer relationship when it comes to history, knowledge, education, and knowing the truth. All right, than a lot of people in the USA know. It's funny because everybody right now in the USA is a conspiracy theorist. Everybody in the USA these days is questioning everything, and finally starting to wake up. But that's how it's always been in Mexico and many other countries out there that have had to deal, with the wrath of, these people in power. You got to remember that, if you're coming from the USA, we have been the empire. Okay. And, we have been told one thing and the reality is another thing. And a lot of us are figuring it out and discovering it now for the first time. While other countries and other places around the world, they've been knowing this. Okay. They've been knowing this for a long time because they've been dealing, okay, with the empire. Okay. The evil empire, or whatever you want to call it, that has been, basically spreading democracy all around the world. All right. And, for many people that know the history, that know history books, that know a little bit more of, how the world has been, basically how the world turns, what is it? Billy Idol? Billy Idol is like we didn't start the fire. The world has been burning since the world has been turning. I know, horrible singing. Okay. But, bruh. With that said, again, this has been going on since the beginning of time, back during Roman times, all the way up until now. A lot of people, basically say, there's a lot of history behind it, that the Roman Empire never fell. The Roman Empire has always just been reinvented over and over again. And it's just been, basically they just change locations. The Roman Empire right now would be the American Empire. All right. And so that's kind of like where we're at with that, where, a lot of people, have a misunderstanding. Again, let's just go back to, during World War II, and Hitler and stuff like that. A lot of people also don't understand. A lot of people, the USA won. Okay, the good guys, quote unquote, won, right? At least that's what we've been told all the way up until, well, fairly recently, when people are now starting to read Mein Kampf, people are dealing with Israel, people are starting to inform themselves a little bit better, and they're starting to realize, hey, wait a minute, are we the baddies? Wait, hold on, hold on, let me see if I got the thing here, hold on. Do I have it? Yes, okay, I got it here, check this out.
Are we the
All right. So this is where people are right now. Come on. I need a producer, man.
baddies? Are we the baddies? Are we the baddies?
I don't know if you guys know where that's from. But anyways, but that's where we are now. People are starting to figure out, like, hey, wait a minute. Are we the bad guys? Have we been the bad guys all along? What's going on here? Because again, I mean, let's just, again, look at very recent history, when it comes to what happened after World War II. Well, what happened after World War II? Again, just do a little research. Do it on your own. Type it into Google. Type in Operation Paperclip. I'll do it. I'll do it for you guys. Let's do it real quick, Let's see what we get. Okay, Operation Paperclip. Okay, right there, boom. It's just one of the many things that happened, after World War II. And it's right there, Operation Paperclip. Again, you can do, it's on Wikipedia, for crying out loud. Wikipedia that is run by the CIA, all right? So, like I said, they don't even hide it anymore. It's already right there in your face. But anyways, to give you a synopsis as to what happened, all right? When World War II was over and Nazi Germany was destroyed, well, guess what? I mean, that didn't mean that all the bad guys just died. Remember Hitler, we don't know if he died or not, but that's not the point. All his, all the people that worked for him, all the scientists, the generals, all of these people, what happened to them? Did they just disappear? Well, some of them did, they went to Argentina. That's another story for another day. But no, actually what happened is that the USA and Russia, okay, and other countries, but, USA and Russia, all right, because that's what started the Cold War after, all right? But anyways, but they basically, they had an NFL draft. You guys know what the draft is, when we're talking about sports, when the NFL draft starts, basically each team gets to pick kids, from college to join their own professional team. So that's what they did, okay? They basically lined up, all the scientists, all the generals, all the people that survived, all right? All the bad guys. And basically, Russia and the USA took turns, okay, in picking these people and bringing them to their home countries, bringing them to the USA, bringing them to Russia, so that they can continue doing whatever the hell they were doing over there in Germany, but for their countries, okay? So I'll give you an example. NASA, okay, was founded, okay, by, I think Admiral Byrd or something like that, or Admiral, I forgot what the guy's name is. Whatever, I don't want to get into details. Maybe someone in the chat can help me out. But anyways, but basically, one of the main guys, for Hitler was the guy that came over to the USA and he started NASA and ran NASA, all right, among other programs. I mean, we can go down the line. There's so many, operation, things like what the CIA did, with MK Ultra and so many other programs out there. So long story short, a lot of people assume that Nazi Germany lost, but did they? Did they lose? Because a lot of the things that, Nazi Germany was doing, oh, that's right, von Braun. Von Braun is the guy behind NASA. But anyways, a lot of these, experiments or things that they were doing back in Germany, well, they just started doing them in the USA. And they started doing it to the American public. And the same thing in Russia. A lot of things, with the propaganda and then so many other things, okay, in both countries. Okay? And so, like I said, look at where we are now in the year 2025. All right? And now that we're looking back at a lot of the things that happened, again, after World War II, during World War II, before World War II. And, well, we're looking at around at ourselves and we're like, well, wait a minute. It's happening again. It's happening again. What the fuck? How does nobody see that it's happening again? Now, again, I think a lot of us, we're, like, how the fuck does people don't see it? But a lot of people, even if they do see it, they don't want to see it. That it's the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of the rhetoric that was going on before World War II, a lot of anti-Jew, anti-Semitism stuff, was going on before World War II. We're seeing it right now. And when we had no context, again, just a few years ago, when we had no context as to, well, why did Hitler hate all the Jews? It was very easy for, Hitler to be the bad guy, just to give you an example. Because we didn't have any context as to why the Jews could possibly be so bad. But now, again, I'm not talking about all Jews, okay? I'm talking about Zionists. I'm talking about, the Israel project stuff, whatever. Again, me saying Israel one too many times is already probably causing me troubles here on the internet. But look, the point is that, as, we've been finding out in the last couple years, and especially in this past year with Trump and everything is going on again, everything after the October 7th thing and everything that's happened since then, most people around the world are like, oh, I get it. I see why they were hated. Oh, I see. You know what? Let's read some of Hitler's books. Let's read some of the books from back then and see if there's any correlation to what's happening right now. Oh, let me read. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Holy shit. As I'm reading, I'm realizing it was just as bad or worse. So, I mean, look, right now, a lot of people elected Trump, for example, because they wanted a lot of that woke stuff to go away. The woke culture, the ability to be able to say retarded if I wanted to without getting in trouble and so on and so forth. All that woke shit disappeared with Trump. Okay. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of that woke culture was happening in Nazi Germany. I'm sorry. It was happening in Germany before the Nazis. Let me reiterate there. And so what do I mean? So right now, a lot of people, when they voted for Trump, they voted for Trump because, well, they didn't want their kid, to be learning, okay, sexual activities, while they're 5 years old, in school. They didn't want, what is it, like a drag queen story hour. They didn't want the transgender stuff. Again, you're too young to get a tattoo or have a drink, but, we can change your sex if you want. Whatever. All that stuff that was going on with that, plus, all the leftist woke ideology, all that stuff. A lot of people, they had enough. They were done with all that. So that's one of the reasons they voted in for Trump. If you look at Nazi Germany, if you look at Hitler, why was he going after the Jews? Oh, well, let's look into it. Let's read the book. Well, it says it right there in the book. It says it right there in the history book. It says it right there on Wikipedia. It's right there. Anyways, what was going on? Well, before Hitler took power, Germany, they had a lot of problems, the economy and all this other stuff. But part of the problem that they were having was the fact that, back then, their society was falling apart. And what was causing German society to fall apart? Besides the economy. What else was, by the way, why was the economy falling apart? Well, because Germany technically won World War I, but, they fucked with Germany and they made Germany the loser of World War I. And so all countries basically got together and said, okay, Germany's the loser. So since Germany's a loser, they got to pay the bill. They got to foot the bill for World War I. And so, yeah, obviously think about it. Even right now, like if think about it, they just say, okay, Germany or Scandinavia or whatever, pick a country, now they got to pay for all the world wars or, the world war that we just had. Obviously it's going to basically destroy the economy and destroy the country. with inflation and so many other things. So that was step one, how they started destroying Germany. But another way that they were destroying Germany is, well, the Jews. There was a lot of Jewish people in Germany during that time, and they were in power in politics and in other, aspects of society, and they were pushing a lot of the same exact leftist woke agenda that we have been experiencing very recently, or still experiencing right now in the USA and Canada. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about, Jose? I'm like, well, what do you think I'm talking about? Meaning, they were trying to teach the kids things that they shouldn't be taught. Okay? They were, doing the transgender thing. Yeah, way back then. Okay? Meaning, oh, I want to change my gender. Okay, I want to take my thing off and I want to, do this. So anyways, a lot of the same exact things, okay, that brought Hitler to power is what brought Trump to power. Now, is Trump and Hitler the same? No. Obviously, you know what I mean? But to say history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So now this time around, you're seeing, Trump and the people behind him, again, it doesn't matter who was in power, okay? But, this is the way that, again, how they create the narrative and how they create these things is that they got to give you the problem so that they can give you the solution. So the problem came beforehand with Biden, Obama, and everyone else before him. And by the time Trump came along, he was basically offering the solutions to all those problems. But with those solutions come more problems. Okay? But part of, his what he did, again, from day one, he went and he's made a humongous alliance with Israel, where basically, you already know, he's their lapdog. Okay? And that's the situation that's going on with all that. And you're starting to realize, well, wait a minute, why is Israel, why are the, Netanyahu, or is it like Kanye says, Netanyahu? Let me see if I can find that. Hold on. That's too funny. But anyways, hold on. Here.
Perfect answer. I've got the perfect answer for the ADL. They are going to have to listen up. What we did is we brought Netanyahu with us.
I mean, I'm in the twilight zone right now.
Netanyahu, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to Alex Jones right now, Nick Fuentes and Ye? It was bad. It was bad for Trump to meet with Nick and Ye. Okay. I had no idea your voice is going to sound like that, Netanyahu.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. It's just too much, man. Anyways, so you saw Netanyahu. I forgot what I was saying with the whole thing. Oh, yeah. But anyways, now all of a sudden, Netanyahu, he's doing what Hitler supposedly was doing, right? Which is killing, genocide, and all that crazy crap that's going on. Obviously, with different people. Obviously, with a different situation. But I mean, like I said, history doesn't repeat exactly as it was before, but it definitely rhymes. And so now we're starting to see all these things going on, and we're starting to, again, continuously asking questions. Meaning, well, wait a minute. I thought the Jews were the good guys. I thought Israel were the good guys. Why are they doing all those things to all those people? Again, not just what's going on with Gaza and shit like that. Forget that. I mean, that alone is enough. Okay, to be like, hey, wait a minute, bro. Didn't you guys hate Hitler because he was doing the same to you, and now you're doing it to some other people? So that's not what we're talking about per se. But again, just the fact that he is literally bombing, Netanyahu, basically, they have bombed every country in the region, for crying out loud. Like, are you kidding me right now? And so what the hell is going on? Again, where it's making everyone on the planet question who the hell are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? What is going on? Why are we allowing this? Yada, yada, yada. The same thing that was happening, way back when during World War II. Again, a lot of people don't realize this, but before World War II really took off, a lot of Americans, a lot of the USA populace, okay, they were very left leaning, okay, and they were also very they were supportive of Hitler. In fact, when the USA, they decided that they had to get involved with World War II, because hey, how are they going to leave all that money and all that opportunity on the table? So as they were deciding, how to join World War II, one of the main discussions that, America was having was, who do we join with? Do we join our European brothers and sisters out there, aka England, France, and so on and so forth? Or, do we go on the side of, well, where many of Americans wanted to be, which was on Hitler's side? I know it sounds crazy, but that was it. The country was split very similar to how it's split right now. Okay. And many of the populace of America wanted to go, defend Hitler and help Hitler in Germany. And half of the population, wanted to defeat Germany and defeat Hitler. Okay. Just FYI. And so we don't know who was in control here, but somebody decided that, hey, why don't we bomb? Well, actually, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, but we kind of set it up as well. But anyways, long story short, okay, when we allowed that to happen, that's when we basically decided that's the side that we're going to join. Japan bombed us. Japan is on the side of Hitler. Well, I guess we got to go against Hitler. And that's how that happened. Like that, okay? But up until that point, most of the population was undecided, and many obviously didn't even want to go to war. All right? The hell are we? What does America have to do with that world war? Especially after coming out of World War I and the devastation that caused and happened. So, a lot of people don't know that history. A lot of people don't know the real truth as to what was going on. Again, remember, around that time, that's when McCarthyism eventually started to happen. They started to go after, anybody that would sympathize with Germany and Hitler. All right. If you looked Asian, they put you in a camp. I mean, I could go on and on. All right. Very similar to what's going on right now. Okay. Just different. Now who are they putting behind a camp these days? Well, basically, if you got brown skin and speak Spanish. Because if you got brown skin, but you are, hello, how you doing? How can I help you? You have an Indian accent. They're just going to ship you off to Facebook or ship you off to, NVIDIA or Intel. Go work over there. You know what I mean? But if you are, hola, senor, would you like a, ICE is right there to pick your ass up and deport your ass. All right? But I mean, it's just, the truth. I mean, just to give you guys, a little perspective, again, as to how similar things are, but they're different. And so back then, obviously the monetary system was also, crashing. Again, back then, before World War II, we were under the British pound. But Britain was getting pounded, because of World War II. So we were also under, during a brief moment, again, around that time, during the World War I and World War II time, where there wasn't even a world reserve currency per se. China, when they had their revolution in the early 1900s, around the same time as World War I, they, or a little after that, or whatever it was, I don't know, again, please correct me in the chat. But around that time, China, when they instilled their brand new revolutionary government, they use Mexican silver in order to establish their currency, because there wasn't really a world reserve currency, or there wasn't really anything stable enough for them to ping it to attach it to per se. And it wasn't until after World War II that all of Europe and a good portion of the Middle East and many parts of the world were destroyed. The economy of the world was in shambles. And that, at that point, because what was going on during World War II, you got to remember, like, for example, let's say you are France and Germany is, about to conquer France, and they had gold reserves in France. So in France, before Germany took over, they put all their gold on a ship and they sent that ship to New York, and all that gold was being held in Fort Knox. By the way, Fort Knox is to hold all the foreign gold reserves, not to hold our own gold reserves. You think the USA is going to tell anyone out there where they keep their gold reserves? Again, that's another story for another day. I am not convinced that the USA has no gold. Okay, I am one of the believers out there that, when it's all said and done, the USA probably holds some of the most gold, if not the most gold in the world right now. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But long story short, after World War II, they had to reestablish a brand new currency. And during World War II, there was a lot of capital flight, out of all these countries that were, again, being bombed to death, being obliterated because of World War II. So, many countries sent their gold to be held in the USA because they knew the USA was safe. Even though the world was, burning over there in Europe and burning in other parts of the world, they were fine in America. Nobody could reach America. Nobody could take the gold from America. So they were betting on the fact that, okay, Germany is going to take over France. At some point, we're going to get them out of here and we're going to get France again. But in that time, if we have gold here, we have anything valuable here, they're going to take it. So we might as well take whatever valuable and ship it to the USA. So many countries did that. And so after World War II was over, and all these countries around the world were in shambles and nobody had gold reserves, guess who did have gold reserves? In fact, all the gold reserves. That's right, the US of A. All right. So at that point, that is when the United States of America, the United States dollar, the US dollar, became the world reserve currency because it was backed by gold. Not just any gold, but everybody's gold, the world's gold that they were holding in Fort Knox. Again, come get it if you want it. And so that's where the gold was held all the way up until the 70s. Okay. And during the 70s, I don't know if you guys remember, late 60s, 70s, by that point, the USA had already been in a few more wars. Right after World War II, we went into the Korean War. Eventually, we had a few more skirmishes here and there. But eventually, late 60s, 70s, what came about? The Vietnam War. Okay. And so guess what? Some of you guys know the history of the Vietnam War. I'm not going to, bore you to death with that. But the Vietnam War, just like the war in the Middle East right now, was basically, the USA was hemorrhaging money because it cost a lot of money to have a war on another side of the planet. All right. So the United States was hemorrhaging money. They were just, going through money like it was no tomorrow. Like it was just, going out of style. And so other countries around the world that were already, rebuilt or in the process of getting back on their feet, because again, World War II ended in, 30 years prior. The president of France, I forgot his De Gaulle, I forgot his name, something De Gaulle. The president of France said, hey, I don't like what the US is doing. They're out there fighting in Vietnam, fighting in Korea, fighting on the moon, fighting, wherever. And where the hell are they getting that money from? What the hell's going on? In fact, this is the president of France. In fact, I don't really care what the USA does. That's their problem. That they're their own sovereign country. They can do whatever they want. But you know what? They're not going to do it with our money. So our gold reserves that have been held in Fort Knox, that have been held in the USA because of World War II and have been safely held here throughout this whole time. Well, guess what? The threat of Hitler and World War II are long gone. The country has been rebuilt, and we don't like how much money you're spending on all these wars and all these programs and all these things that you're doing. So we're just going to ask for our gold back. So can you ship all that gold that belongs to France back over here, please? Like right now, like tomorrow. Thanks. And so obviously, Nixon, had to say, yes, of course, we're going to send you your gold right away. And so as soon as that happened, other countries started asking for their gold back. And so a bunch of countries, they started getting their gold back. But as all the countries that had their gold in the USA started to getting their gold back, well, guess what? All the gold that was in the USA is gone. It started to diminish. And eventually it got to the point where apparently we had so little gold left that Nixon said, hey, enough. And we know it's cute, and we know France wanted their money back. We know England wanted their money back. All these countries wanted their money back, and we sent it out. But that's it. We can't be sending any more gold out for the foreseeable future. Because, we have, the inclination that there's speculators out there, there's bad hombres out there that are trying to fuck with us and trying to destroy the USA, and we're trying to stop that. So that's why we can't ship out any more gold, which again was a bunch of bullshit. You know what I mean? That gold did not belong to the USA, it belonged to the countries in which, they belonged to originally, and they were just asking for it back. That's all that was going on. But the USA was so reliant on those gold reserves, and they were so already addicted to spending and addicted to money printing and addicted to their form of life. Again, remember, America had a golden age after World War II, plus all the wars that we went into, okay? And all that was basically for free. We were using other people's money to fund that. But then all of a sudden, we didn't have that money anymore because the countries wanted their loan back. They wanted their gold back. So then Nixon had to, figure out a solution. And so the solution was that, okay, hey, you got us. You know what I mean? Whatever. Okay, we sent the gold to France. We sent the gold back to these countries, but that's it. As of right now, we cannot send any gold out anymore for this foreseeable future. Whoever has gold in the USA, don't worry about it. It's safe. It's safe. Trust me. But we can't ship any more out because, again, the speculators and this and that. And, we're just trying to protect all of us. Trying to protect you, trying to protect me, all of us, all right? So we're not going to ship any more gold out. And in fact, I'm going to take it even further, okay? I'm going to now decouple the US dollar from the gold reserves, okay? So now, even though up until 1970, whatever the hell it was, up until that point, the dollar was still backed by gold. Again, when the system was first established, one $20 bill equaled a silver coin. Okay, and it was 1 for 1. But by the time that we got to the 70s, the dollar was not backed by a full gold coin or whatever. It was backed by a fraction of gold. Again, as time went on, we kept devaluing our own dollar. Okay, and instead of being again a full ounce of gold, it was a fraction of gold, a fraction until eventually by the time we got to the 70s. The dollar was only valued by 25% gold or something like that. I don't know what it was, okay? But as soon as the U.S. ran out of gold because it had to give all the gold back, well, and now what? The U.S. had to figure something out. So then that's when Nixon said, okay, from now on, the U.S. dollar is not going to be backed by gold anymore. In fact, it is now going to be backed by the good faith of the American people. How beautiful. What a nice thought. Obviously, as soon as he said that, the whole world was happy and they had a celebration and they were all, I'm being sarcastic. No, but anyways, yeah, but at that point when the US basically said, okay, now our dollar is going to be converted into fiat currency. And what is fiat? Fiat means fake. So they had their dollar that was backed by gold overnight, backed by debt, backed by the good faith of the America. Again, what does that mean? Oh, it means that, hey, if at some point, just like France asked for their gold back or their money back, don't worry about it. If you ask for your money back, we're going to give it to you. Just not now. Just not now. And not for the foreseeable future. We'll let you know. Don't worry about it. Don't call us. We'll call you when we're ready to give you back your gold or money or whatever. Okay. And then, by the way, you know what I mean? Then they disconnect their phone and, you know, they block and report you. Okay. So that's what the US did. Okay. That's basically what the US did. And so then from that moment on, we've been on a fiat currency system. And not just that, but then the rest of the world was like, well, you know what? Well, fuck it. You know, if they're doing it, we can do it. And so the rest of the world started to follow suit. And obviously it started out with the big dogs, like European countries, bigger countries, like let's say Russia, whatever it is, they started having their own fiat currencies, but eventually everybody had their fiat currency. But the thing was that as soon as everybody got their fiat currency, well, then guess what? So what happened was that before, all currencies were valued by gold. But after gold stopped valuing the dollar, again, the dollar was not valued in gold anymore, and all dollars were backed by nothing, just a good faith, by air. All countries were in the same boat, but all countries are not created equally. So what happened was that, like, from that moment on, all other currencies around the world were now backed by the US dollar. Oh, how great and wonderful is that? Oh, lucky USA, right? Well, the reason the USA was able to do that was because the USA always had the biggest military. And that military has only gotten bigger and bigger and more powerful. And you already know, if you disagree with the USA, they'll come a knocking. Hey, how's it going, guys? We heard that you had a disagreement with the USA. We're here to spread some freedom so that we can be on the same page and agree on everything. Again, go USA. And so that's basically kind of, where we've been at. All right.
Bruh.
And, but that system is also falling. That now, again, that system, again, this is not the first time this happens in history. Okay, we can go back. It's happened multiple times. Fiat currency is nothing new. Paying for endless wars is nothing new, and so on and so forth. All right, debasing of the currencies. None of this is new. It's been going on since Roman times. All right, but back then, they had to do it the old-fashioned way. Everything was silver coins or gold coins, and when you would return those coins to the bank or to the mint, what they would do instead of recasting pure silver, pure gold coins, the governments back then, they would add a little nickel, they would add a little lead, they would add a little bit of this, they would add a little bit of that, they would add a little and before you knew it, you don't have a pure silver coin anymore. Now you got a coin with all these metals. Maybe there's some silver in there. And so then that's how they would do it back in the day. And, obviously it was a lot easier, for the people, to figure out, what was, what coins were actually real or not. Again, that's why you see in the old cartoons, people would bite coins, Bugs Bunny, things like that. That's how they knew, whether it was real or not. Anyways, so with that being said, what was I saying? What was I? Yeah. So what happened was that, like, as time went on, when the printing press was invented, again, in the 1500s, right? 1400s, 1500s, I forgot. Anyways, around Martin Luther. Anyways, Martin Luther. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But anyways, the printing press not only allowed Martin Luther, to spread the word of God, around the world in different languages, but it also allowed governments to now print paper money. That's right, print paper money. So again, the whole printing of paper money is nothing new. And by the time that Nixon said, "Hey, we're going to just straight paper money backed by nothing," they already had a playbook on how to do that and how that system would work, because they've been doing it for hundreds of years. All right, in one shape, form, or another. And so eventually, like I said, the whole world got onto the jumped onto the fiat system, and every country has fiat. Again, paper money, fake money, worth nothing, backed by nothing, backed by the US dollar. Sorry, my apologies. That's what I meant. Backed by the US dollar, but the US dollar is backed by nothing. But what that allowed is that now all of a sudden, the United States of America had the economic power, okay, to now basically create now they had the economic power to basically lift a country out of poverty or destroy a economy and put them all in poverty overnight. And how would they do that? Very easily. They would reevaluate the currency. So for example, let's say that they had a problem with Turkey. They'll be like, great, no problems. Now, as of tomorrow, since you got a problem with the USA, your currency, your Turkish lira, well, guess what? We don't think it's valuable anymore. So now, instead of getting 20 lira to the dollar, you're going to get 200 lira to the dollar or 2,000 lira for the dollar. And long story short, they would create economic war on any country that would go against them. And they would basically dictate, they still do today, they dictate, okay, the strength of every country's currency because every currency is valued in dollars and backed by dollars. Makes sense? So then they have the total control. But as the dollar has been losing power, losing strength, as the dollar has been losing strength, okay, because of the devaluation, okay, as it's continuously been losing strength, because of all the money printing that's been going on. Another thing that the USA has been doing for a decade now is that, for example, they'll have a problem with Russia and they'll tell Russia, you know what, Russia, we don't like you, so we're going to put sanctions on you and you cannot use the dollar anymore. Okay. So Russia is like, yeah, whatever. We don't need to use the dollar. We got our own currency. We got gold. We got silver. We got oil. We got other crap. We don't need to deal with the dollar. In fact, you're doing us a favor by taking the dollar away. And so the USA has done that with many countries. And so it's forced many countries to not use the dollar anymore. Henceforth, I'm making the dollar even weaker because, well, the dollar's not being used, or the dollar's not allowed to be used, or the dollar's not even valuable or even allowed to be pegged to my own local currency. Well, then why am I even worried about it or using it or anything? It has nothing to do with me. And that's what you've been seeing, in the last like several years, where many countries are decoupling, whether on purpose, meaning, they want to decouple. Hey, I want to get away from the dollar, and they just do it on their own. And they have the ability to do on their own because the USA is spread so thin, fighting all these wars and doing all these other things. They can't enforce, whether a shithole country or not uses their currency or not. But on top of that, like I said, they've been going to war, economic war with a bunch of countries out there, like for example, with Russia. But Russia can withstand the hit. So it hasn't been affecting Russia negatively. It's been affecting Russia positively. But for example, look at Venezuela or Cuba. Why has their, economies in their countries fallen into despair? Well, because, they cannot get away from the coupling of the dollar. Okay. And so they have, again, it's obviously way more complicated, and there's a lot more going on. But what we're seeing right now is something very similar that we've seen many times before, where now, again, the current currency, the current world reserve currency is on its deathbed. It's basically, about to end. We're going to go through a period of nothing, which is why you need gold and silver. And then we're going to go into a new currency. Now, the people in power, they don't want that, they don't want that space in between currencies in which people, go back to gold and silver and then go back to a hard currency or a, a currency that is backed by gold, or a hard currency, a real currency. So what they're doing is that, well, under Trump, again, it doesn't matter who was president, but we're just saying what happened. Trump signed the Genius Act. And so what is a Genius Act? Again, very similar to what Nixon did. Okay? So remember, what did Nixon do? Nixon started the whole thing of like, okay, we're not going to back our currency with gold anymore. All the other countries stopped backing their currency with gold as well. And so all currencies then started to get backed by the dollar that was backed by nothing. Okay, so everything is backed by nothing. So now that we have this US dollar that is backed by nothing, and we have all these other world currencies also backed by nothing, but on top of that, the US is like, what, 40 trillion in debt? To who? That's another question for another day. But how are they going to get out of that? Oh, very easily. I mean, they have two ways to get out of it. Okay, one is that they can go back to a gold standard, reevaluate gold. Obviously, gold would have to be at a crazy price, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But once they reevaluate gold, okay, and they account for all the dollars and all the debt out there, well, they can eliminate the debt like that, like gone tomorrow. That's one way. Okay, but then that would mean we go back to hard and sound money. That's not to the advantage of the people in power. Remember, the people in power want the digital grid, the digital prison, the digital currency, the digital everything, right? So hard money, gold, silver, that's not going to work. So how can we transition from one system to the other? Oh, very easily. We just discovered this brand new thing called Bitcoin. Some guy named Satoshi Nakamoto working for the CIA or whatever. Anyways, whatever. We don't know. We don't know who Satoshi is. We don't know who invented it, but we can all assume. I mean, not assume, but if you follow the paper trail, you know exactly who created it. But anyways, it's not a story. It's not here nor there. The point is that we got Bitcoin. We got cryptocurrency now. Okay? And that's the future, guys. Come on, we all know that's the future. It's Bitcoin. It's crypto. Come on, Trump has his own coin. That's the future. Come on, guys, get on board. Yada, yada, yada. It's all the, digitalization of the world, and we're trying to get in the future and whatever, right? So the idea is with the Genius Act, it's in the Genius Act. That's what this is about. Is that now instead of the dollar, instead of getting the dollar that we have today and creating a brand new dollar backed by gold or silver or backed by something physical, what we're doing is that we're going to create a brand new dollar. But again, this time it's being backed by cryptocurrency. You're like, huh? How does that make sense? Again, let's unpack this for a minute. So right now, cryptocurrencies, okay, they got their own value. Okay, like a Bitcoin is like gold. It's like its own thing, but it's valued in dollars. Just like gold and silver are valued in dollars, right? But it's not just. Sorry, shout out to Opie out there. Welcome, Opie. Yeah, we all know it's Craig, right? Anyways. Inside joke for Bitcoin nerds out there. But anyways, look, the point is that, where we're at right now is that we have all these cryptocurrencies out there, but it's not just the cryptocurrencies. We have these things called stable coins. And what is a stable coin? Stable coins are coins that exist in this digital world that are backed by a dollar. So for example, I have 100 US dollars. And I buy 100 US dollars worth of Bitcoin. Okay? And that Bitcoin rises in price. And now I have $1,000. Okay? In Bitcoin. So you can, what a lot of people do is they'll get that $1,000 in Bitcoin and they'll cash it out to dollars. Remember, that's the currency that we all use, correct? So if you're just looking to make a quick buck, you put $100 in. You get your gains, you get your winnings. Once you get to the point where you want to be, you cash out of the casino and you get those winnings. Okay, just like a casino. You go into the casino with $100, you buy some chips, they give you the chips, you go gamble, you make $1,000, you go back to the window, you give them the chips, they give you dollars. Okay, are we on the same page? Okay, so that's how the system works. So right now you put money into Dogecoin, Bitcoin, shitcoin, Trump coin, whatever it is. At the end of the day, you're going to cash out $2. That's the idea, right? But what a lot of people actually do, the ones that trade or the ones that are in the system, you know, the crypto system or whatever, what they'll end up doing is that they cash out, okay, but they stay in crypto. So again, how the system works is like this, you know, for those that don't know how this crypto system works, okay? So I put $100 in, I buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, okay? Then when I cash out, I don't cash out to dollars. I cash out to Tether, or I cash out to DAI, or I cash out to any one of these coins that are deemed stable coins. And again, what is a stable coin? It is a coin that is backed by the US dollar. So for example, 1 Tether is equal to $1. 5 Tether, $5. Makes sense? So when you cash out your $1,000 in Bitcoin, you're cashing out to 1,000 Tether. Because you're probably going to end up keeping that money there so you can buy Bitcoin again and make more money. But even if you don't do that, you got to still you still got to cash the Bitcoin out to Tether, and then that Tether turns into US dollars. So what the Genius Act is, okay, the Genius Act, wrap your head around this one, is that they're backing each US dollar with a stable coin. But wait a minute, Jose, didn't you just finish explaining that each stable coin is backed by a US dollar? So how the hell can now a US dollar be backed by a stable coin? That's, you know what I mean? It doesn't even make any sense. But anyways, that's the plan. And so obviously there's many stable coins out there. And the idea, again, you can read it yourself. It's in the Genius Act. The idea is that what they plan on doing is to create a brand new stable coin and then put all the money, all the debt that the US has into that stable coin, into that digital system, and then reevaluate the system as they would with gold or silver, and thus eliminate the debt. Like it just doesn't exist. It's just gone. It's just in the ether, in the not in the ETH, you know, and just literally in outer space, just gone. That's the plan. Now, will it work? I'm extremely skeptical because a good majority of the world is already calling bullshit on the USA. Russia is number one. You know, Russia's like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? The fuck do you mean that you're going to now, you know, reevaluate the dollar, you know, with another currency that doesn't even fucking exist? And, you know, it's just out of thin air. And then you're just going to get rid of the debt like that. What the fuck are you talking about? So anyways, long story short, other countries are now getting on board and calling bullshit on this. So again, we're going to have to see whether this transition happens or not. But they're doing it. We're in the middle of it. You know, the whole digitization of it, everything that you're seeing, that everything is just quickly, you know, notice that, you know, everybody's now, all these countries with digital IDs, digital currencies, digital this, digital that. That's because they're all trying to get this online, get this going as quickly as possible before the people that can actually, you know, do something about it. But look, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that the system's going to crash and burn. Because you cannot continuously replace a fiat currency with another fiat currency and another fiat currency and another fiat currency. Because at the end of the day, in order for any currency or any of this to work, the people need to have faith that this works, you know, that this is, you know, something that they can trust. And most people do not. And as time goes on, they're trusting it less and less. This is why you're seeing things like gold and silver basically hit all-time highs and continuously rising in price as more and more people are realizing what's on deck, you know, what we're about to embark on, which is a giant monetary reset, which we've had many times before. And when that monetary reset happens, there's another thing that happens called a debt jubilee. Again, it's been going on for hundreds of years. And what a debt jubilee is that basically all our debts are canceled. But these people in power are so and what's the word? Greedy. You know, they're so greedy that they want a debt jubilee for them, but not for you, not for me, not for us. How funny. How great is that? So they want a new currency with no debt that they control, that they, put the value on, that, they can control every other currency on, that they can control the world on. And all their debts are eliminated, but all your debts, they're going to roll over and you're going to be owing that debt to the end of time. Your children's are going to be paying that debt. That's what they want. And that's how they're going to enslave the world. That's part of it, but that's how the system, how they envision it to work. Will it work? Will it, pan out? Will it, materialize? Probably not. Probably not, because if you travel the world and you've been to any other country out there and you see how other countries work and how their systems are set up, again, just out here in Mexico, I talk about it all the time. It's basically all cash only. Most of the system, again, whether you're working for Amazon, working for the bank, or you're a dentist, you're, a street sweeper, whatever it is you do, it's all cash for the most part. Almost nobody's on the digital grid. And there's many countries like that out there. Again, not every country is where you're at right now, where everything's already almost digital by you voluntarily, volunteering for it. Out here, again, the reason that they've never bought into the whole digital system is because they never trusted the old system to begin with, because of everything that I have already told you. You got to remember, when you are an American and you are the one dishing out the debt and dishing out the pain, you don't see anything. But when you're on the other end of the on the other end, meaning any other country around the world, you've been dealing with this pain for a long time, and you've been hoping and praying that the dollar collapses and the system collapses, so that finally, all currencies around the world can go back to how they were before, and they were all backed by a hard currency, or backed by hard assets, or backed by true value, as opposed to how they're backed right now. So again, right now we're seeing the empire, the evil empire, the big empire, the US empire, trying to remain in power. Again, who controls the US empire? We already talked about it, ask Hitler. Anyways, in fact, who controls the evil empire? We have somebody here to tell us all about it. Hold on a second.
I've got the perfect answer for the ADL. They are going to have to listen up. What we did is we brought Netanyahu with us.
I mean, I'm in the twilight zone right now.
Netanyahu, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to Alex Jones right now, Nick Fuentes and Ye? It was bad. It was bad for Trump to meet with Nick and Ye. Okay. I had no idea your voice is going to sound like that, Netanyahu.
Anyways, all right. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. I mean, but look, long story short, the system is collapsing. They're trying to keep it afloat. They're trying to remain in power. Not only are they trying to remain in power, but they're trying to gain even more control, while they can barely control what they have in their hand at the moment. So again, if you read any history book, you go back far enough in history, that this is not going to end well for them. And through the process, it's probably not going to be good for us either. But at the very least, we will be in a position to be able to break free from the system that we are in right now, the system that they designed, the system that is not broken, but working as intended. So there is a way out. But the way out, a lot of it has to do with our own educations, setting ourselves up, and being in the right place at the right time, and then that's it. Just letting them basically, hang themselves, with a short rope. That's it. I mean, it always comes to an end. That's it. And so right now, with the whole thing with the Genius Act, to me that was like, wow, man, this is where we are. Things that I thought of years ago as a pipe dream, very high on mushrooms and weed and all kinds of things, thinking, okay, this is how they're going to do it. Because I couldn't think of any other way how these people were going to continue this thing. And here we are, and they're doing it. They're doing it. They're literally fucking doing it. But again, you know what I mean? Are they going to be successful? Probably not. Again, they're already losing all kinds of power all over the world. And the dollar each and every day is becoming even more worthless. And when this system finally goes kaput and they try to replace it, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. The people around the world they've had enough. They've had enough. They don't want to be slaves to the USA anymore. They don't want to be slaves to the international bankers anymore. They don't want to be slaves to the Netanyahus out there. All right. So anyways, guys. All right. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's show. I know I went off on a large rant, just ranting and ranting and ranting, about all this stuff. I really hope you guys found it educational, entertaining, whatever. Before I go, I'm going to read a few comments. I see you guys were very active in the comments today. Seemed like you guys really enjoyed today's show. So shout out to everyone. We got Henry Rollins out there. I'm sorry, David Rollins. I thought it was you, man. I thought it was Henry Rollins, man. I was about to ask you for your autograph. Big Henry Rollins fan. Is that your brother or cousin or something? Anyway, shout out to David. He says, Jose, you are awesome, mi amigo. I really wish you did some of these in Spanish for our Mexican amigos, my friends out here who do not speak English but could really benefit from the podcast. Again, a lot of my videos are also translated into Spanish. But as I was saying earlier in the show, when I talk to just a typical Mexican out here, they know a lot of this stuff. They know a lot of this stuff. The people that don't know this shit are Americans and Canadians and people, in the first world that, have the best education and the smartest on the planet. Those are the people that don't know shit. Okay? The reality is, like I said, whether I was talking to the shoe shine guy or the taxi driver or the doctor or the whatever, a good majority of people have a good semblance of everything I said today. Again, I understand that I have a little bit more in-depth knowledge than the average bear out there. And, not everybody, out in Mexico, or out there in the world knows all these things. But I'm telling you, man, once you leave the USA, you will be pleasantly surprised by how many people actually know these things. Okay. And the ones that don't know it, it's because it's not affecting them at all. That's another thing too. A lot of people just assume, this whole worldwide takeover, the digitization, this whole thing is just going to, destroy everyone around the world. And it's going to be any further from the truth. Like I said, if you travel the world and you go to other parts of the world, you're like, oh yeah, I mean, wait a minute. These people, they don't even have an internet signal, let alone, they're going to implement any of this shit out here. So yeah, like I said, once you leave that bubble of the USA and you really start seeing what's out there, you really realize like, oh, we're going to be okay. Oh, we're going to be fine. Everything is okay. You know what I mean? Because look, right now here in Mexico, we got a Mexican president that, is doing a lot of the NWO, great reset shit. And you get to really see how it's just not going to work when the people just do not comply. Like flat out, not only do not comply, but everyone across the board does not want to comply. And even the president doesn't want to comply per se. It is a great thing. Like I said, once you really go out there, and again, I don't want to, just flat out say that the people in power, whoever they are, like they don't have their hand in everything and they're doing all kinds of things to all parts of the world, because they are. But it's a great, humongous world out there. There are 8 billion plus people out there. And that is why they're betting on, some sort of cataclysmic thing, some sort of apocalyptic thing to happen, because it is very difficult to control 8 billion people, especially when, 6 billion of them probably, don't even know any of this stuff is going on and it doesn't even affect them. But if all of a sudden some crazy thing happens and, we have a lot of people die for whatever reason, well, it's a lot easier to control and cattle the herd when it's a smaller herd than when it's a humongous herd that is uncontrollable and is all over the world. So that's the thing. Hidden Knowledge says, hey, Jose, what the government shutdown What will happen to the people on Social Security that cannot work anymore? I talked hidden knowledge. I actually talked about that last week. So once we're done here, check out the live stream I did on this channel last week, and I actually go in depth and I talk about that more. But yeah, I mean, basically what I was saying last week seems to be coming true. It seems like I wasn't that far off. Jeez, man. You know, this is, I'm not going to lie, man. I hate being right. I wish I was wrong all the time. I mean, if I was wrong all the time, we would be in a much better place on earth. I hate being so right about so many of these things. But anyways, long story short, going back to what you were just saying, how this government shutdown in the USA is going to be affecting people. Yeah, I mean, I said it. I said it last week. You know what I mean? I don't expect the government to be open anytime soon. It's going to be affecting people next week. Because, I mean, right now it's Thursday the 24th. I mean, sorry, Thursday the 23rd. Next weekend, so about 10 days from now, is the November 1st, right? I mean, let me see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9, 10 days from now. 9, 10 days from now, people are going to get a rude awakening when they're not going to get their SNAP benefits. They're not going to get their Social Security. And they're not going to get a lot of these things that they rely on. And again, it's all on purpose. Why is it on purpose? Well, they want to make you suffer so that way when they bring you the solution, you know, you're thanking, you know, Senor Trump, and you're thanking the government, you know, on your hands and knees, on your, you know, basically kissing the ring, kissing the feet of these people in power because they gave you back your benefits. They gave you back your food stamps. They give you back your money. They gave you back all this government reliance that so many people have. Again, this is why, I mean, when people ask me, it's like, hey, Jose, what are you doing for your retirement? Bro, I live my retirement, man. Right now, people cannot even afford retirement. The fuck am I going to, what hope do I have in 20, 30 years? You know what I mean? So, and especially being, you know, under that pressure, you know, being under that, you know, always scared, like right now, you don't even know if you're going to get your benefits or not. You and so many millions of people all around the USA. Yeah, it's going to get real dicey real quick. I'll tell you that right now. So I honestly, what I think is going to happen is that they're not going to open up the government again until some point in November, probably right before Thanksgiving. Okay. But it's on purpose, man. It's all on purpose, you know, to bring everybody to their knees and because the thing is like they bring you to your knees, okay? And obviously, you know, right before you're about to revolt, they give you back everything, and then you're thankful, okay, and grateful, and you know, you're not going to go against the government. You're not going to go against the people that just fed you, that just gave you your money, that just gave you your benefits, right? Now, of course, if they don't give you your benefits, your money, your everything, of course, everyone's going to revolt in some way, shape, form, or another, or whatever. But if they give it to you right before, and by the way, this is a tactic that's as old as time. I mean, you know, the government is using it on a grand scale with the people. But if you work any regular shit job, they do that to you too at your shit job. You know, they work you all the way up until you're at the point of like ripping out your hairs and about to, you know, go crazy and do some crazy things. And then hey, you want a pizza party? You know, hey, we got a special guest. You know, we got Netanyahu, and he's bringing his fucking pizzas. So, I mean, come on. You know, it's the same old, and that's what I think is in the works. That's why they're doing what they're doing. It's all on purpose. It's all nothing. Okay, please understand this, guys. Everything they do is on purpose. Everything they do, there's a script behind it. Another thing that you all have to realize is that, you know, these people in power, these people running everything, they're not all the smartest, you know, people in the world out there. You know, there's a bunch of fucking idiots running the show. There's a bunch of fucking idiots in power. Okay? And when you combine both, okay, you get the Illuminati. No, anyways, when you combine both, it's a recipe for disaster. And that's where we're at now. You know, we have a lot of corrupt people in power, a lot of retards in power, you know, a lot of people that are, you know, they know exactly what the script is and what they need to do, and they're doing it. And at the end of the day, the people that are suffering are the people. Nobody else. Not nobody in power. Nobody in power gives a fuck about you, and they never have. They never will. And this is all same as it ever was. Okay, just par for the course. So if I were you out there and you rely on government, for your food stamps, for your Social Security, for whatever the fuck it is, again, assume you're not going to get your benefits at the beginning of the month. Now, you will get them. I really do, for sure. Again, if I'm a betting man, which I am, anyways, if I'm a betting man, I would bet that's going to come before Thanksgiving, 100%. It's, again, not the week of Thanksgiving, but at some point before Thanksgiving. So meaning, the first week, maybe the second week of November is going to be rough. And once it gets so fucking rough out there that the people are just, I can't take it anymore. That's it. Government shutdown over. Benefits into your pocket tomorrow. Okay? So what I was going to say is that plan accordingly. Okay? Whatever money you got now, make sure it lasts. It's enough to last you a few weeks. Stock up. If you still got food stamps, you still got some money, or stock up on things you can afford, like rice and beans and a bunch of other, things that are extremely inexpensive that can feed you for the time being, and so on and so forth. But, long story short, again, who knows? I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I hope the government opens tomorrow and they give you guys your benefits November 1st. I hope the government shutdown ends on Halloween and you get your government benefits that weekend. But I mean, I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't put my money on that. I'll tell you that. In fact, I feel a lot more confident betting on the Miami Dolphins winning this weekend than I do that the government's going to open up. All right. So I'll leave it at that. All right. So anyways, that's right. David Rollins says, Henry is a bit of a freak. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Henry Rollins, man. Shout out to him. Anyways, up here in Taxco. Oh, really? Is that where you're from or where you're at? Most of our Mexican neighbors and friends really don't know, Jose. How do we find your translated pods? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, by the way, David Rollins, if that's where you're at, I would love to visit that area. That's like the silver capital of Mexico. That's on my list. Me and Christian both really want to go. So that's on my list of places to visit. So hopefully when I do, we can link up if you're out there. Shout out to you. But I just realized, right now, 1 second, I want to check something out. Because I just realized I'm pretty sure that my live streams do not get translated. You know what I need to do? You know what I think I'm going to start doing? I'm going to get my live streams and I'm going to re-upload them, because when I re-upload them, that's when they get translated. But when I do a live stream, it doesn't get translated. So that's what I'm going to start doing. Okay, I'm going to work on that. Okay, and I'm gonna see. Hopefully, it'll work out. I think it will. But what I'm gonna start doing is that I'm gonna, like this video, I'm gonna re-upload it, because right now, as soon as I'm done with the live stream, YouTube post it. But it's a different kind of upload thing, because it's a live stream. It's a live stream. Once it's done, it just posts. But when I upload a video, like I do on the other channel, YouTube reads it differently, and so when I upload videos, those get translated. Okay, not all of them, but a good majority of them. So I'm gonna experiment, and I'm gonna try doing that here on this channel. I'm gonna re-upload. I'm gonna start with this one. I'm gonna see if I can do it, today, this weekend, whatever. We're gonna re-upload it, and if it translated, then I'm gonna do that with the other videos, and then that way everyone has a Spanish version, not just Spanish, but any language, that they want to translate it into, version of what I'm saying here. So awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, David. In fact, let me write that down, because I'm going to forget. Hold on. Re-upload. Sorry, I'm under the gun here. I hate when it's silent on my end here. In fact, I'm gonna put Kanye.
I've got the perfect answer for the ADL. they are going to have to listen up. What we did is we brought Netanyahu with us.
I mean, I'm in the twilight zone right now.
Netanyahu, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to Alex Jones right now, Nick Fuentes and Ye? It was bad. It was bad for Trump to meet with Nick and Ye. Okay. I had no idea your voice is going to sound like that, Netanyahu.
Oh, yeah. All right. This guy. Hold on. One last one. Hold on. One more Kanye. One more Kanye. This is my last one.
The thing about the red hat that drove me to a point of exhaustion, which was misdiagnosed by I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor, and what hospital, and what media went to. We know I can't say that. It was a Jewish doctor.
Yeah, man, I've always been a Kanye fan. I'm still a Kanye fan. I know he's fucking nuts, but it's hilarious, man, because you know this last couple years when he went really off the rails, really nuts, it was still difficult, you know, to kind of like still be in his camp. But here we are today, you know, and it seems like he was right again. In fact, Kanye is more right more often than Alex Jones. I'll leave it there. Alex Jones is, you know, in my opinion, at this point, controlled opposition. But whatever. It is what it is. Star Tower says, no! Right? Did I say it right? Huh. No! Please, no! Auto translate is horrendous. And YouTube is so stupid, it will force me to watch it in AI Spanish. Well, look, first of all, if you get a video that's in AI Spanish or AI Swahili or whatever, you can literally, here, I'll show you how to do it. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Okay, I'm going to get my fat face out of the way for a quick second. Okay, so you see right there where it says settings, you see on the video? You see on the video where it says settings, you click on settings, okay? And you're going to have a thing here, and one of those options is going to be language, okay? In fact, let me do one of my videos real quick. Hold on, so that way it'll be easier. One second. Okay, so I'm going to show you exactly how it works, okay? Hey, guys. Okay, so you see right there in the settings, okay, you click on settings, and you see right there, see audio track. You click on audio track, and then you just pick it. So if all of a sudden you get a video in Spanish or whatever language, you just click on audio track, and you just go back to whatever language you want. English original, we're leaving it there, okay? You can also do that with subtitles, okay? All right? So, you know, where it says options right here, you see? Oh, wait, no, where's that? Auto translate, English auto generate, I don't know, whatever. Some of them have it, some of them don't, where they have different languages. Anyways, the point is that that's how you do it, okay? Now, the reason I'm doing this, okay, the reason I'm doing this is because a lot of people want to hear me in Spanish. So I understand that some people don't. That's why I do it in English. But again, you know, I can't cater to everybody. So what I'm, you know, when I do the things in Spanish is because I want, you know, other people that want to listen to me in Spanish to be able to listen to me. And sometimes when I do Spanish videos, it is what it is. I know it's a bit rough, but you got to understand that this is free and this is a tool that I can use to reach more people, and that you guys can also use, you know, to help reach more people as well and educate more people or entertain more people or whatever it is. And it's free. You know, again, if I had the money, if I had the resources, I would literally, you know, pay for a service to do it correctly and do it better. But that costs money, and nobody out there is giving me any money, you know, to make it better. So if Star Tower, you hate it that much and you want a better translation, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll let you know how to send a donation so you can pay for it, so you can get the, you know, what you want. But if not, then what you're going to have to do, okay, is that, again, just click on there and just put English, and that's it. Okay. So just please understand that, you know, not just on this channel, but on both channels. All right. So just going forward, all right? That's something I'm gonna do. And I was already thinking about doing what you were, what I was talking about, Rollins. But now that you mention it, now I have to do it. So I will do it. Okay. So thank you. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention so that I can write it down because I have like a million notes. You should see my desk. It's just, I got, I think I support Post-its, you know. I'm like one of, Post-it. Who owns that? 3M? I'm like one of their best customers. I love Post-its. I got Post-its everywhere. So anyways, regardless. All right. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. All of you guys. David says, Jose, my wife just said you are a member of her Facebook group, Awake in Mexico. She started the group when we escaped Canada. Oh, awesome. I had no idea. Awesome. Wonderful. Yeah, it's funny because I'm a member of a lot of those Facebook groups. I don't even post on Facebook anymore because I've been banned from so many of those groups. It's not even funny. So it's almost not worth it to me to post in many groups anymore these days. But yeah, Facebook they don't like me. The people on Facebook don't like me. Facebook likes me just fine. The people don't. But anyways, all right, guys. I said I got to get out of here. I'm already running on fumes. I'm tired. My voice is tired. I got to go. And I really appreciate you guys. But again, don't go. We got the outro, okay, before we go. But anyways, guys, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really hope you enjoyed the show. I really hope you enjoyed hanging out with me and Kanye and Lambo and everybody. And we had a great, amazing time. I enjoyed today's show a lot more than I thought I was going to enjoy. I guess I got to go on more of these rants. I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed it and appreciated it. And again, thank you. The special thanks to Mr. Rollins out there. I want to say David Rollins, man, but every time I see Rollins, I just see Henry. But anyways, shout out to Henry out there, and shout out to Rollins out there, and everybody else out there. I love you guys, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So with all that being said, let's play some music and let's roll out of here. Love you guys, appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Oh, wait, wrong button. Bye, guys. By the way, this is an AI cover of Marilyn Manson, The Beautiful People. I love this stuff.
And I don't want you, and I don't need you. Don't bother to resist, or I'll beat you. It's not your fault that you're always wrong. The weak ones are there to justify the strong. The beautiful people, the beautiful people. It's all relative to the size of your steeple. You can't see the forest for the trees, and you can't smell your own crap on your knees. There's no time to discriminate. Love every single person that's in your way. Hey, you! What do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you! Are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. It's hard to pick which one they hate the most. The horrible people, it's all anatomic as the size of your steeple. Capitalism has made it this way. Old-fashioned fascism will take it away. Hey, you, what do you see? Something beautiful or something free? Hey, you, are you trying to be mean? If you live with hate, man, it's hard to be clean. The beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people. The beautiful people. Hey, you, what do you see?
live stream.
200 times. 500 times.
Probably. Who is Jose Arteaga?
Jose Arteaga is a YouTube content creator with several channels focusing on different themes.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Thing sucks.
His main channels include travel vlogs and lifestyle content. On his travel channel, Jose Arteaga Travels.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Additionally, he runs a cooking channel and engages in other personal projects that highlight his diverse interests and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects, project, projects, project, 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 project.